everyone, it's Alyce and welcome to our June wrap-up. If you haven't seen our June mid-month wrap-up yet, make sure to go and check that out if you would like to see reviews of Sword in the Stars by Corey McCarthy and A.R. Capetta, Today, Tonight, Tomorrow by Rachel Lynn Solomon, Rose Interrupted by Patrice Lawrence, Love Me Not by Holly Schmale, The Prison Healer by Lynette Nonny, and In the Ravenous Dark by A.M. Strickland. We ended up managing to read 13 books in total in June, which I'm really happy with, especially because this was the month of Whatever-Thon. So if you haven't heard of Whatever-Thon before, it's a bit late now because it was running for the entirety of June. But this was Maddie from Book Browsing Blog's original readathon, when basically you had to read whatever. You could have a variety of different prompts, get different points from them, and I'm going to run through, like I did in our mid-month wrap-up, I'm going to run through what points each of these books got, and at the end of this wrap-up I will tell you how many points I scored in Whatever-a-thon in total. To start off with, we're going to start with our reading stats like we normally do. So in June, we were aiming to read 3,414 pages, and we ended up reading 5,086, which is 148% of our goal. I'm very chuffed with that. I didn't think we read quite that many. So I am very chuffed that we managed to get that amount of our page count goal done. It does help that 2 days ago, well, yesterday morning, I started my new job, so I'm travelling for 3 hours every day, and it is good reading time. So, hopefully, July will have even more pages read. When it comes to our star breakdown, this month we have 1 1-star book, 1 2-star book, 1 2.5 star book, 3 3-star books, 3 4-star books, and 4 5-star books, which I'm really chuffed with. And seeing as we only had 1 5-star in the first half of the month, that means the second half of the month was an amazing time for us. So I will run you through all of the books that we read and let you know how many Whatever-Thon points we scored for each one of them, and then I will let you know how many Whatever-Thon points we got in total at the end of the video. I will make sure to chapter separate the books down below, so if there's a specific book that you know that I've read recently that you would like to hear me talk about, just check down in the description and you'll be able to jump straight to that. So the first book I'm going to talk to you about today is Delirium by Lauren Oliver. I gave Delirium 3 stars. This is the first book in a YA dystopian trilogy about a world where love is a illness and they have cured it. So whenever somebody turns 18, they have to go through this curing procedure because if they get it done any earlier, their brains are underdeveloped and it can cause a lot of problems. And we meet a girl and she is a few weeks away from getting her procedure done, and she meets a boy, and of course they have to fall in love. So this is very traditional YA dystopian fare. There's the big corrupt government, there's the kind of law that they follow. So throughout this, oh god, what's the book called? There's like a religious text. The Safety, Health and Happiness Handbook, which is the they basically quote that like it's the Bible, and it's about the way that love can hurt you and how you need to protect yourself from it and protect people around you and the different symptoms and things to look out for. Like, I'll be honest, I was just thoroughly unimpressed by this one. I did enjoy it more than I thought I was going to, hence the 3-star rating, but it was also just... it just didn't really have much of an impact on me. I'm already struggling to remember what to say about it. There were some comments that I didn't appreciate about like LGBTQ plus relationships being like the unnaturals, because this is a world where people get paired up like male and female after their procedures because they're not meant to have feelings for each other, they're just basically meant to be baby makers. But I didn't like the way that that was talked about. Yeah. What else about this annoyed me? The ending was terrible. The ending makes me simultaneously want to pick up book 2 and also throw this away and never think about it again. That's how divisive I found it even inside myself. Like, it's a very cinematic, explosive ending, but it just doesn't make any sense in the context of the story, and it just seems really pointless. I'm not going to go into spoilers, but it just seems like it did not need to happen the way that it did, and that it only happened the way that it did so that she could get another book or 2 out of the series. This could have easily been a standalone. I can't even remember the main character's name. That's how much of an impact she had on me. Lena. I liked Lena's best friend, Hannah. Hannah was very interesting because Hannah is the one who's the most interested in kind of breaking the laws of this world. She wants to listen to music. She wants to go and dance with people. And she's the one that kind of gives Lena the idea of rebelling. So I would have much preferred to follow her story. I've got a feeling that there is a short story that is focused on her. I hope I'm not making that up, because there is a collection of short stories that go with this series. And I would be interested in reading that. And I will probably carry on with it just to see how it goes, because it was a very quick read. I read this in a couple of sittings, and it was quite fun to dip in and out of, because it did remind me of some of my favourite dystopians. But this is not a new favourite for me. And it was on my These Books Will Self-Destruct list, but actually if it had self-destructed, it wouldn't have been the worst thing. Controversial opinions only. Delirium got me 200 points. I got 100 points for finishing it. I got 25 points because it matched my team genre, as dystopian was part of the Comrades of Chaos. I got 25 points because I picked this as one of my Hookaduck game prompts, so this was a TBR game prompt. I also got 25 points for this being a poll pick in the Discord chat. And I got 25 points because it has the team colour on the cover, because the font is like very pink and it's got like some pink flowers on it. So, yay, 200 points for me. The next book I'd like to talk to you about today is Muse and Nightmares by Laini Taylor. I've finally done it. I've finally finished The Strange, the Dream, and Duology, and this was also a 5-star read for me. I didn't love Muse of Nightmares as much as I loved the first book in the series, because Laini Taylor's writing style changes a lot in this one. The first one feels very much like a fairy tale. You feel like you're almost under the influence of something because of how beautiful and captivating and how intense her descriptions are. But this book feels much more traditional. Like, there's a lot more dialogue, there's a lot more kind of interactions between the characters, and it's not as overly descriptive as the first book, but that was part of the charm of the first book for me. I know some people didn't like that about it, so that might mean that this would end up being a better book for you. This follows a boy called Laszlo Strange. He has travelled to a city that he has always dreamed about, and there he has met some people that he wasn't expecting to meet. I can't really say too much about it because I don't want to ruin the first book or the second book, but this one also introduces like a kind of dual timeline in here. There's another story which is told, and that captivated me from the get-go, and I found it a lot easier to get into this one than I did with Strange, which is interesting because I've read Strange twice, so you'd think the second time around when I was rereading it I would have found it easier to get into than the first time, but I still really struggled. Something about Muse just grabbed me and didn't let me go. We read this so much faster and I just found it an absolute delight. I nearly cried at points, my jaw was dropping, I was screaming. I'm begging for a third book because the way that this ends, there could so easily be a sequel. Like, honestly, Laini Taylor, if you ever happen to stumble upon this video for any unknown reason, just please write a third book in this series, because I want to see what happens next. You can't just be like, oh yeah, and then more things happen. I want to see them. I want to go on adventures with these characters and never leave them. I want them to be my best friends. I want to be on this adventure with them. I just loved it. There's nothing else I can really say about this one. So let's get on to the Whatever-Thon points for it. So that one got me 225 points. I got 100 points because I finished the book. I got 50 points because it was a creator favourite, because that's one of Maddie from Book Browsing Blog's favourite books. And I got 25 points each because it was 5-star prediction. I hauled that copy in the last year because I hauled that copy last month, so I will link that book haul up here somewhere for you if you're interested in seeing that book haul. And I got another 25 points for it being a creator favourite, apparently. So I don't know how I figured it out, but I got 225 points for it, so it's fine. That successfully got me up to my rank. So at the end of my June mid-month, I said that I had 2,250 points, but I'd actually worked that out thoroughly wrong. So basically, for the different ranks that you get like 500, then 1,000, then 1,500. I thought you got like 500, then 500, then 500, so that the point that was on it was like the cumulative points. No, apparently you got 5,000 for ranking all the way up. So that was a big old 5,000 bonus in there. But did I stop there? No, I did not. I decided to keep on reading, which is why I've got another 6 books to talk about for you. And so we will continue forth with Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon. I was lucky enough to take part in the blog tour for this one, so huge thank you to The Right Reads for letting me take part in the blog tour for this, and to Penguin for accepting my request to view this through NetGalley. This is Nicola Yoon's 3rd novel. It follows a girl called Evie as she decides that she doesn't believe in love anymore because her parents have just divorced. She decides to donate all of her contemporary romance novels, but when she's at the little free library, she gets given a copy of a book called Instructions for Dancing. Now, there's a stamp in the back of this book that has the name of a dance studio on it. But when Evie gets home with the book, she realises she's actually been given, as well as the book, the talent to look at a couple when they kiss and see their entire relationship play out in front of her, which is just so interesting. So she sees how they get together, she sees the moment that she's currently viewing, and then she also sees how the relationship ends. So this gives Evie a lot more ammunition for her kind of quest against love, because all of the relationships she's seen come to an end. Whether someone dies, whether there's illness, whether there's an affair, a divorce, someone moves away for work. Like, she sees relationships end in hundreds of different ways, and so she just fully decides, like, I am not bothering. She can't understand why her sister keeps dating. She can't understand why her mum's trying relationships again, because for Evie, relationships are over until she meets X. And I was hooked. From the beginning, I could not put this down. I absolutely loved it. It's everything that you would expect from a YA contemporary, and then everything I would normally want from a YA contemporary just smashed together. Like, Nicola Yoon is very clever in that she breaks down the stories with different, like, differently formatted bits of story. So you'll get, like, group chats from Evie and her friends. She'll do, like, a list of her favourite romance tropes, a list of the different dance moves that they're training with. And it just breaks it up and makes the pace so quick. And I don't even know how to put into words how much I like this. I gave it 5 stars, and I would have given it a 6th star if I could, because it tore my heart out. It danced all over it, it shoved it back in, and then tore it out and, like, ripped it up a little bit so that it was the confetti around the heart dancers. That's how good this book was for me. Sean didn't really enjoy it, which kind of bummed me out a little bit, but there was just something about this, because it shows you how beautiful love is. Like, yes, it might end, but you've still got all those happy moments leading up to it, so it's still worthwhile. And there's a lot of discussion about whether it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all, and whether it is worth putting yourself through that. If you know that, like, the relationship's going to end, in the words of Taylor Swift, it's gonna be forever, or it's gonna go down in flames. If you know that those are, like, the two extremes, that, like, most relationships don't work out, why would you put yourself through that? And I think this is going to be a great one for people who are young, who have experienced heartbreak, who are in relationships that they don't think are going to go the distance and they're feeling a bit bummed out by it, people who've never been in a relationship, people who have lost loved ones, people who are currently losing loved ones. I just feel like there's such a wide audience for this book, and it's also going to help people of multiple generations. Like, there are grandparents in this story, there are parents in this story, there are random strangers, so you get to see love stories play out from all different angles. And I just think it's got the real potential to appeal to a huge audience. I know this has been chosen as a Book of the Month book recently, and I think that is a brilliant choice, because it's one that I think a lot of adults wouldn't pick up because it's a YA book, but I'm hoping that people would take a chance on it because it's been Book of the Month. Because this deserves to be widely read, and it deserves to be hugely loved. And, like, I'm already tempted to reread it. That's how much I enjoyed this. That doesn't happen a lot for me. Not like instant rereads. So Instructions for Dancing got me 375 points on Whatever-Thon. It got me 200 points for finishing it, because after you hit your goal, you've got double the points for finishing another book. I got 100 points because there is LGBTQ+ rep in this book, because 2 of Evie's best friends are in a relationship, female-female relationship. And there's also 5-star prediction for this one, because I gave everything 5 stars, so I wondered if this might be a 5-star prediction. My team colour on the cover, because the flowers are pink. And POC rep because Evie is... I'm not sure if... Yeah, her mum is Jamaican. I don't know if her dad's ethnicity is explicitly stated on the page. But, yeah. We then move on to Once Upon a Quinceanera by Monica Gomez-Hira. This was a 3-star read for me, which was a bit of a letdown because I was on a bit of a contemporary kick and then it plummeted a little bit. But this follows a girl who is working with a company called Dream Come True. She is doing fairy tale princess costume parties over the summer as a part of a class to get her diploma to graduate, and she is Belle, and all of a sudden her ex-boyfriend just randomly rocks up as the Beast, and it's like, oh no, what a coincidence, what are you doing here? And it's hard to say what I didn't like about this one, because the fact of the matter is, I didn't dislike it as such. It was just similar to Delirium. It just didn't have much of an impact on me. I didn't feel invested in the characters. I wasn't really rooting for them. They were both a bit awful, if I'm honest. I didn't like the ending because it was very abrupt. There is one thing that I'm going to say which I don't feel is a spoiler. I'm sorry if you do feel it's a spoiler. But I've forgotten her name as well. This is how much these books are impacting on my brain. But the main character's mum gets into a relationship with a guy called Enrique. And he's kind of becoming part of their family. And then the epilogue is like 6 weeks later and it's like, oh, mum's preparing for the wedding. Okay, well, that's just come out of nowhere. And it just feels like that could have been a really poignant moment of her, like, accepting Enrique into her family and being like, oh, I have a father figure now because my mum and Enrique are getting married. But it's just like, oh, you know mum's busy because she's planning her wedding. Okay, well, now we do, but that would have been fun to show rather than tell. And I know that's only something really small and petty, but that's the thing that sticks in my head the most. I don't know, like, again, it just seemed like Mora was a terrible person, and, like, yeah, he changed, but he just still seemed pretty terrible. I wouldn't have forgiven him for what went on before. Like, he cheats on her. Well, he says that they're, like, broken up, and she's like, oh, I thought there was still a chance we were going to get together. So he, like, sleeps with somebody else, and she walks in on him sleeping with them. And then he's like, oh, I didn't know you went to the party. I didn't know you knew that had happened. Like, that excuses it. And, like, he apologises later on, but I just think something about the whole situation just doesn't really sit right with me. I still can't quite put my finger on it. But, like, I liked the setting. It was set in Miami, and there's a lot about the weather and the fact that Miami gets, like, flash storms and things. And there is quite a nice scene towards the end where he, like, holds the quinceanera for her. So that was, like, quite a cute scene. But, yeah, just not one that really did much for me at all. Which is a shame. Once Upon a Quinceanera got me 270 points, so I got 200 points for finishing it. I got 25 points because it was POC rep, because the whole family are Latinx. I got 25 points because it was a debut novel, and I got 25 points for it having the team colour on the cover, because, as you can see, there is some pink. The next book I'd like to talk about is another 5-star, so things are looking up again. It's good. I can gush some more. And it's The Ones We're Meant to Find by Joan. So this was in last month's Owl Crate box. So I read this as part of the Owl Crate read-along at the beginning of the month. The end of the month. It was literally this week. I'm thinking it's July already. But this follows a girl called Casey and a girl called Celia. So Celia is on an island and she is desperate to find Casey, who is her sister. And meanwhile, Casey is living without her sister and is wondering where she's gone. And you're seeing this kind of almost tug of war between them when Casey's like struggling to come to terms with the fact that Celia is dead. And Celia is struggling to get back to Casey. I just find this so brilliantly written. It's a sci-fi novel. It's very futuristic. So as you can see in the back here, there's like a city in the sky. So it's like, I don't know if you can see that or not because of the light, but hopefully. But basically, because the planet is like really bad with pollution and global warming, climate change and things, they've made these eco-cities where only people who have contributed a very minimal amount to pollution are permitted to live. So people who work for companies that destroy the planet, essentially, don't get this safety of the eco-city. And Casey and Celia's father, is one of the founders of the eco-cities. So they are, like, so the highest ranking people. So when Celia goes missing, all eyes are on Casey, to see how she's going to respond. I'm not sure if she is actually neurodivergent, but the way that some of her emotions are described come across as neurodivergent to me, based off of what I've heard other neurodivergent people describe their experiences as. But it is not explicitly stated on the page, so I would not 100% say that, and I did not claim this under any kind of rep for that, because I wasn't sure. But I don't know, I just really liked it. There's enough foreshadowing to keep you guessing, and also enough foreshadowing that you don't feel cheated when the reveals happen. Like, you're still mildly surprised. You can totally see the clues. As soon as the reveal comes, you're like, oh yeah, I could see that was coming from a mile away. But you still feel satisfied because the clues are so vague that there are so many different pathways that they could go down. So it's like, is it this? Is it that? Could it be this? And then when, like, whichever pathway it goes down, you still feel satisfied, even if you have touched upon that or guessed what is going to happen. Because that's one of the things with the Owl Crate read-alongs. They often say, like, what do you think is going to happen next? And if you look at it really intensely, you can get some great ideas. But then I find myself feeling more satisfied by the story if the foreshadowing is good enough that even from the beginning you're like, oh, it could be this, but that feels really far-fetched. And then that's actually what plays out. It's just something about this that's really beautiful. Yeah. I don't know if... I don't know. Like, I'm not sure if it should have been a 5-star. It probably should have been a 4.5. But I just loved the way it was written. I loved the fact that Casey's chapters are told with numbers, and they're told in the third person. And Celia's chapters are told with tallies. So it's like... Chapter 9 is like 9 tallies, but chapter 10 will then be the number 10 because it's gone back to Casey's perspective. If I can find it. And Celia's perspective is in first person. So it's so easy to keep the differences between their perspectives straight. It's so easy to know whose chapter you're going into. And it's one of the best books I've read for dual perspective. It's definitely going to stand out in my mind for that. The writing style I really enjoyed. I thought it was just the right side of lyrical. There are bits that just captivated me. I didn't want to put it down. I could have easily read it in one sitting. We read such huge chunks of this. It was like my brain could finally absorb itself into a story for the first time in months. I've been struggling to concentrate on books and rereading a lot of sections over and over again, but this one, it was like the words were flowing straight into my head. I just couldn't misunderstand any of it. I didn't have that disconnect. I was really connected to the characters. I was so intrigued by the world. I wanted more from it. Like, I wanted more of it rather than more from it. I got what I wanted from it. But yeah, I'm not sure if it should have been a 5-star, but I don't know if that's because it's not the kind of book I would normally give a 5-star to, because it did push me out of my comfort zone a little bit, and it did take me a while to get my head around all the different technological bits. There's also some kind of things that feel like loopholes with some of the ways that the eco-cities work. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head. Sean would probably be able to, because he's better at remembering little details like that. But something about this I just loved. And why not give it a 5-star? It doesn't hurt anybody. So for the ones we're meant to find, I got 275 Whatever-Thon points. I got 200 points for finishing it. I got 25 points for POC rep because Casey and Celia are Japanese. I got 25 points because it was out of my comfort zone, and I got 25 points because that's a pink sunset sky on the cover. So pink. 275 points. We've then got the 2 books that I've read over the last 2 days on the bus. The first one of which is Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. This is a cute little graphic novel about 2 people who work at a pumpkin patch over the summer. It is the last day, October. It's the last day of the pumpkin patch, so it is set on Halloween, and they decide to go on an adventure. So Josiah likes a girl, and Deja decides that she wants him to finally talk to this girl that he's been obsessed about for like 3 years. So they abandon their stall and they go out into the pumpkin patch. I really enjoyed it. I only gave it 4 stars because there were a lot of subplots that don't feel necessary. And a lot of subplots that aren't like actually resolved. And I've not had that in a standalone graphic novel before. I don't know if it's just because I haven't really read many standalone graphic novels. But I felt like there were a few things in here that could have been resolved in a more satisfying way. But I did find the friendship between the 2 characters very cute. And this was just a nice, fun, like light and easy read for the bus journey. Because it's nice to just kind of look at pictures and enjoy them on the bus. And obviously I read this super duper quickly. Pumpkinheads actually got me 375 points on Whatever-Thon, so I got 200 points for finishing it. I got 100 points because Deja is actually a bisexual character, so that's LGBTQ+ rep. I got 25 points for POC rep because Deja is black. I got 25 points because this was a 5-star prediction because Mama loves Halloween. And I got 25 points because this was out of my comfort zone because I don't read many standalone graphic novels. And last, and actually least, because this is our 1-star for the month, we've got Attachments by Rainbow Rowell. Feel free to boo me if you need to, because I know that this is very well loved, but it was not for me. So this follows a guy called Lincoln. He works in IT security, and one of his jobs is set in the 1990s, and it's like at the turn of the millennium, so it's like 1999 to 2000. So they've just introduced like personal internet, and the managers of the paper are really concerned in case their staff members are bunking off and just emailing each other all day every day and talking about inappropriate things. So Lincoln is employed to read their emails. That would be okay if he didn't then fall in love with one of the girls whose emails he was reading. I knew going into that this was the plot of this, but I didn't think it would come across as creepy as it does because a lot of people love this, and I thought, oh, it's obviously going to be quite harmless. Like, he's gonna be developing feelings for her, but he's not gonna like actually do anything until like she approaches him or something like that. I thought maybe it would be like they'd have a meet cute and then he'd stop reading her emails and just be like, oh no, I hope she doesn't know that like I ever read them. It's not that at all. It's like he is obsessed with her. He has no idea what she looks like, but then simultaneously she's obsessed with him, so she's like going on about this cute guy, not realising it's him. Obviously, he's in his office just like, oh yeah, she likes me. And she's there with a long-term boyfriend who she's been with for like 7 years, like fantasising about this guy at work and being like, oh yeah, I just followed him into the movie theatre and like stood behind him when he got popcorn, like inhaled him. Alright, Beth, chill your boots out. So, like, there's nothing redeemable about either of these characters. Lincoln's a dickhead to his mum. All his mum wants to do is cook him food, so he starts giving all of his food away to, like, another lady who he works with. And then his mum's like, why didn't you tell me you were giving the food away? And he's like, it's just because I felt sorry for her, innit? So the mum starts making food for the old lady as well, and then he's like, why are you making food for her too? Like, just embrace your mother. And, like, he literally, like, he starts renting an apartment, and he doesn't tell her. And then he just doesn't go home. He's just like, oh, I've moved a sleeping bag into the apartment. I'll sleep on the floor tonight. I'm sure Mum won't worry. What? Learn communication. That is a huge part of any kind of relationship, especially one with your mother. Meanwhile, Beth is with this guy who she was like weirdly, creepily obsessed with before they got together. He would sit in the student union and she was just like, oh, he's always here on a Tuesday, so I'll just start getting earlier and earlier so I'm here before him. And then he'll be like looking at me and I'll be like, here already. And then we might actually talk. And then they don't talk to each other until like the last day of term, and he comes up to her and he's like, I've got a class next semester, so can we like do this date someone else? How confident do you have to be? Like, you're just sat in the same room as this woman week on week. You obviously know she's there for you, but like, how confident do you have to? Can you imagine if she was just like, what date? I don't know who you are, I'm just trying to study. Yeah, I liked Jennifer, who is Beth's best friend. She goes through some shit. And I liked her character. I thought that her character development and her story was very interesting. And if that had been the focal point of this, I would have enjoyed it more. Because Jennifer had a lot more going on. Beth and Lincoln really didn't. Like, Beth was just sarcastic and rude. And Lincoln was just creepy as heck. And poor old Jennifer was just in the middle. Just like, hey, why don't you want to, like, come for dinner with me? Oh, I think your cute guy is quite cute. Why don't you, like, try and date him? And I don't know. I feel like I could have given up on this. I could have DNF'd this, but it's just so quick to read because it's mostly written in email exchanges. So like it's just like lots of indented lines. There's lots of like very short chapters. And obviously I was reading this on the bus, so I said to Sean if I hadn't got it finished by tonight, I was going to DNF it. And I finished it this morning, so, okay, it's done. But it's 300 pages of my life I'm not going to get back. And on the one hand, I'm glad I read it. Because I've been hearing good things about this book for, like, 10 years. And I shouldn't have been. If somebody read my emails and then started flirting with me and was, like, referencing things I'd only told my friend in confidence, I'd be like, yeah, nah, mate, off your trot. Yeah, I'm glad I read it because it's out of the way and I know I don't enjoy it, so I can return it to the library and not think about it ever again. But also that means that both of Rainbow Rowell's adult books I have not enjoyed. I did not enjoy Landline. I think I gave it 3 stars just because I felt like I should have enjoyed it, but it was more of like a 2 or a 1. This one I said to Sean, I was like, it feels a bit harsh giving it a 1. Did I really hate it that much? And then I turned the question around and was like, did it have anything that redeemed itself to a 2? No, it didn't. If it had had a satisfying ending, perhaps. But, okay, spoilers here, but also this is 10 years old. The end of it. Lincoln wasn't asleep. He rolled on top of her. There's no air in space, he said. That's literally the last line. There's no air in space. I mean, I legitimately... The next page is, like, completely blank, and I thought it was a printing error. So I googled what the last line was, because I was like, can't just end there. That makes no sense. It's not coherent in the slightest. Just, oh yeah, I'm rolling on top of you. There's no air in space. I don't get it. I just don't get the appeal on this one at all. This is probably going to be a controversial opinion, because I do know people love this, but I don't care, if I'm honest. I'm also extremely tired because I had a very early start this morning, so I probably won't actually remember saying any of this, so I do apologise if I've been harsher today than I am normally. Oops. Don't get me up at 5:30 in the morning and then expect me to film at like 9:30 at night. Me. It's literally just me that's doing all of these things to myself, but heck you, me. Right, let's find out how many Whatever-Thon points this was. 275, so I got 200 points for finishing it. I got 25 points for the pink on the cover. I got 25 points because this was Rainbow Rowell's debut novel. I thought it was Eleanor and Park, but it was actually Attachments. And I got 25 points because this was a 5-star prediction. Because I had it on my TBR for so long, I thought I was going to love it, and I didn't. So, that was a fail. So there you go. That's 13 books. I mean, technically 7, because I talked about 6 in the other video, but swings and roundabouts. Those are all of the books that I read in June. Let's find out how many Whatever-Thon points it comes to. 8,225. I'm pretty chuffed with that. Now I'm kind of like mad I didn't break 10,000 because that was pretty close, but it's more than I thought I was going to, because I didn't think I was going to get our target. We've been struggling to read 8 books the last few months, so I thought I'd set it at 8 so we could push ourselves to it. And then I obviously didn't expect to read 2 books in a day on the last day of the month. So, I'm pretty happy. If you have been taking part in Whatever-Thon and you have worked out your point total, please feel free to leave them down in the comments so we can congratulate each other together. If you like this video, please give it a like, and if you'd like to subscribe, we'd be super duper grateful, as we always are. We post new videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. Hopefully the next one will be more coherent than this, because we filmed those prior to me starting work and waking up at 5:30 in the morning, so I actually made a bit more logical sense then. So hopefully if you didn't enjoy this video, go check one of those out where you'll have daytime sense making Alyce and she'll be good to you. We will see you again in a couple of days. Bye! How are messages going off when I'm on flight mode? How does this keep happening?